What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Sports Snobs. I'm Pat. He's Kaz. You know the deal by now. Check us out on thescenesnobs.com. You can check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at SportsSnobPat, at SportsSnobKaz. And we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Brian, beautiful hat today. Beautiful hat.
Why, thank you. What about the glasses? You don't like the glasses? Come on.
Okay. It's okay. Are you in Tampa Bay right now?
It's a blue blockers. They're the blue blockers. But, you know, Tom Brady, he sucks. I got to get rid of him.
Yeah. Gotta love the Arians look. All right, let's jump right in. Let's kick it off, as we always do, with the NFL Weekly Recap. Week 13, rapid recap here. I know a game that you probably found some interesting because you seem to pick the Browns from week to week. I know you didn't pick them last week, but you have a weird liking for the Titans. So Browns Titans, probably one of the better games of the week, at least in the second half, as far as points scored, some action. I know you had some fantasy implications there with AJ Brown. So what were your thoughts on that game?
So it was very telling for both teams. Yes, I like the Titans. I hate the Browns. The Browns started off very hot. The Titans came back, which the Browns kind of gave it back to them. But it's very telling that neither team deserves a playoff spot. They don't. They're not good teams. And Corey Davis, I hate him because he kills me in fantasy. But, you know, that's all.
That's it. That's all you got from that game. I mean, yeah, neither team. You're saying neither team's a playoff team. I guess what you mean.
Rapid recap. You said rapid recap. I know I'm not supposed to be mean, but you said rapid recap.
That's the most rapid you've been since we started. I'm just surprised that it's. I respect it. I like it. Nice and concise. I agree with you to an extent. Obviously, both teams, the playoffs started today, they would make the playoffs. But to your point, the way the Titans started is indicative of the fact that they're not going to do much in the playoffs if they make it. And I know last week I said that they're the team that has the best shot to knock off the Chiefs if they were able to establish a run game, play decent defense. But the way they started out against the Browns was that's just not going to cut it. And then the way the Browns played in the second half, they almost blew it. I mean, it wasn't a close game, but at the end of the day, look at the scores. Winning by a touchdown when they were up by 3 or 4 scores at one point. It's just
they scored 5 in the first half.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense from week to week. With
I will say the Titans, if their defense tightens up, and I don't mean
I say what you did there,
that. I didn't mean that. But if they do, Henry in the third and fourth quarter starts to kill defenses. So can the Titans, they've done it all year. They've had bad games, good games. Can they, in the playoffs, steal one? I believe they can, but the Browns, no. Browns are out.
Speaking of good games, bad games. Oh, we got some echo here. Let's go to a fantastic game. And the Giants and the Seahawks. What a phenomenal game. I know you were glued to the television. You couldn't take your eyes off of it. You couldn't take your eyes off of Mr. Unlimited doing not so unlimited things. But
hey,
what
he got one to Carson.
Oh, sure, at the end of the game.
That was like a 14-point play, which, by the way, I won by 1 point in my fantasy league, so that helped me.
And you would have lost it. You would have lost every other team that week.
Hey, who's the number 1 seed in the playoffs?
That'd be you, but I'm right behind you, number 2 seed.
And so hopefully you get to the finals, so I can beat the hell out of you.
This is not about you. This is about the Giants. They had a phenomenal game. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I thought they were going to win. I certainly did not think they were going to win. The defense absolutely showed out. One of the best defenses in the league over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and beating the Seahawks is nothing to overlook. although they are inconsistent and they do play close games with some lesser teams, they're a powerhouse on offense, and the Giants essentially completely shut them down until the fourth quarter, until your Carson touchdown there. So it's exciting. They're 5-7 still, right? But it's exciting to know that they're still in the thick of things here and going into Week 14. So you got to be happy.
What's exciting is that an NFC East team might actually have 6 wins. That's
7.
What's exciting.
7. One of them will have 7. I just hope it's the Giants.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, one team that for sure, and we'll get into the Washington football team, which is weird. I mean, we went from talking about the NFC West every week, it seems, being the best division, and now we're talking about the NFC least because they had 3 interesting games. 2 of them were good games. One, I'm only pointing out here because of what happened in the game, and that's the Eagles and the Packers game. And finally, Carson Wentz gets benched. And Jalen Hurts. And it just felt like it had to happen. And I don't know about you, but I thought it was the right time to do it.
He's done. He's done. He's the next Josh Rosen. But with a hell of a lot more money on his contract. So the Dolphins can cut a Josh Rosen and not have a cap hit. The Eagles can't. It'll hit them with, I think it's like $30 million. So maybe he's more like a Jay Cutler, where you tried to trade him, you can't, but you can't eat that cap. And the Bears were lucky enough that it was end of the contract and let him go. But yeah, that they're in an ugly spot, the Eagles, with that contract and moving on to Hurts. Yeah.
I agree with the contract part. So that's definitely going to be tough to justify not starting a quarterback who's making, close to $30 million a year. So that's tough. That's kind of it's kind of like a Kirk Cousins situation, although I guess Kirk Cousins was able to maintain his starter role. But I think there will be teams that will be interested in trading for him. Now, I don't know if they're going to require the Eagles to pay some of his salary, but I feel like there's teams out there that could save Carson Wentz.
Tell me who would be able to take on that contract.
49ers. Same team that could be in consideration for Sam Darnold. I think it's possible. I think they have the rest of the team in place, right? They were in the Super Bowl just last year. So think about that. But I mean, that's an upgrade from Jimmy G.
Darnold's $10 million a year? Wentz is 32.
I mean, he's still on his rookie deal, right, Darnold? So, no, I agree. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think they're going to require the Eagles to pick up some of the salary, but I don't think it's unreasonable that a team that has the cap and who's close to making a push in the playoffs or even to the Super Bowl, I don't think it would be surprising if they pulled the trigger on that.
Do you think Wentz is better than Garoppolo?
I think so. And I think with Shanahan,
I believe that. I don't know if I believe that.
Well, that would be the true, the easiest way to find out is put him in an offense with a kind of an offensive genius or someone who's more creative than Doug Peterson, right? He doesn't even roll him out of the pocket, and yet that's how Carson Wentz excels. He excels when he's rolling out of the pocket.
Garoppolo better than Nick Foles?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm throwing it out there.
But that's a personality that, like, Nick Foles worked out with the Eagles because people don't like Carson. Apparently, Carson Wentz isn't even liked. But I guess I don't know enough details on that. But that's what I'm seeing in the media. They're talking about how they just rally behind Nick Foles, and now they're going to rally behind Jalen Hurts because they don't think Carson Wentz really, gives them anything in the locker room. It's all, he's skilled and he's a big dude.
They root for the underdog. Look at Rocky. It's all about Rocky, my man.
Hey, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just stating facts.
Batteries at Santa Claus. They don't like the liked man. They like the underdog and the person that is not liked. That's their mentality.
Fantastic.
Many times.
Fantastic transition. Speaking of underdogs, speaking of people who are well liked around the league, Alex Smith he's playing great football, and they knock off the undefeated Steelers. I mean, what?
Did somebody call that?
Well, you picked them. Did you say they were going to win?
I picked the points.
Yeah, so I don't even think you expected them to win like they did. I mean, but
No.
To your points, when you made the pick, it makes perfect sense. Steelers playing 3 games in a matter of, I don't know, less than 15 days, I think, right?
12 days.
So they were definitely not there physically, right? I mean, there's no time for recovery, no time to really prepare. Not that there's much to prepare for the Washington football team, but their defense carried them. Alex Smith didn't do phenomenal things, but he did just enough to win the game. And the Steelers...
He did the greatest thing in the world. He ran the ball off the field so that the ref had to call that 18-second timeout, which gave them a chance to kick the field goal. He was old, wily vet. I know something about an old, wily vet that can do little tricks like that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but props to him. Definitely the comeback player of the year. I don't even think it's a discussion at that point. Almost dying, right? Potentially due to infections and all the surgeries he had to do. So much respect for him.
You went to dying? I was going to say amputated.
No, listen, that's what they're saying. I mean, everyone, when they reference it, they say he could have died. That was the real deal right there. Pretty serious stuff. So I'm not trying to get all morbid. I'm giving him props, giving him respect.
Don't be mean. Don't be mean. That's my gig.
I'm not being mean, but I will scold you if you are mean. All right. Let's go to our the next segment, my favorite segment. It's beautiful. I know I came up with this. Everyone loves it. People are ranting and raving about it. They want to do a whole show of it, but I said, slow your roll, calm down. We can't do that. All 5
people that listen to our show are ranting and raving about it?
I can't disclose numbers, but it's like 80%. 80% of people.
Okay, so it's your wife and Jasenia and her boyfriend and who else? Come on, that's 80% of who listens.
I can't share that information, but react or relax. So react if you agree, want to share some thoughts on it. Relax if you disagree, and we'll start right there with the Eagles. So I know we just talked about Carson Wentz and how he just got benched, and maybe he's not even an Eagle next year. So Carson Wentz will not start another game this year.
So I'm going to relax on this because all I have to say is unless there's an injury to Jalen Hurts, he's done. He will never see a green uniform on the starting field again. That's it.
I think he will. I agree. I think the only way he comes back on the field is due to injury, which isn't a foregone conclusion at this point because Jalen Hurts kind of plays a similar game where he's rolling out, runs every now and then. Ran a lot at Alabama, but I don't think he'll be doing that in the NFL. So we'll see. I don't see him starting unless there's some sort of injury. And why would he? It doesn't even make sense. The Eagles are mathematically they're not out of it, but I mean, you have 3 wins on the season. It just doesn't make sense. I think you just got to ride with Jalen and
check out what you got. Check out what you got and see what you got to draft next year.
I agree.
Better be offensive line and a wide receiver because you got neither.
Yeah, they had their shot this year and they blew it, just like the Jets blew it in the draft. But next one here. So I looked at NFL.com. They have the power rankings up. And this is the top 5. Chiefs, Saints, Steelers, Packers, Bills. Thoughts? React, relax. What do you think?
There's nothing to say here. Those are the top 5. Who else would you put in there? You could argue that the Packers are better than the Steelers coming off of this week. Other than that, I don't see anyone else that's worthy of it.
Yeah, I hate to agree completely, but I think it's accurate. For these 5, I don't know about the order though. I think, and I know not much significance of it, but I'm interested to see this Steelers-Bills game. Like I know we're questioning the Steelers because they lost to Washington on very, very short rest over the last 3 weeks, but the Bills are the real deal. And I don't know, that offense could put up some points against this Steelers defense. And I know they're one of the best defenses in the league, but Josh Allen he's becoming a superstar in the league. He's got to be up there. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I'm saying he's in the conversation for MVP, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to win it, but he's up there at least. So that's going to be an interesting game. So that's my only thing is, I know the Steelers lost once, but I would almost bump the Bills up. I don't know. I just think I'm looking at what they are on paper and the stats show that.
You'd bump the Bills over the Packers and Steelers.
I would, because I think the Bills have a better defense than the Packers, even though the Bills' defense can't jump 6 inches off the ground. They don't need to do that on every play, so I give them a pass on that. And I would jump the Steelers, I think, and I think that'll be proven when they play the Steelers and they beat the Steelers. So,
well, I hope the Steelers beat the Bills because the Dolphins are going to lose to the Chiefs this week, and I need the Dolphins to have that chance in Week 17 to win the division. So
that's close.
That's more of a heart decision than a head decision.
One game out.
Yes.
All right, last one here. This is the biggest one. Very, very important. My fantasy football team is going to go further in our league, aka win the championship.
No.
Really?
Because to win the championship, you have to beat me.
I already did.
Yes, did I have Hilaire that week?
Oh, stop.
No, I didn't. Did I have McCaffrey that week? No, I didn't. I am getting both of them back. I haven't had McCaffrey since, I don't know, week 2. So.
I think he's going to stick around. I mean, he seems to have the injury bug this year.
I need him for 2 weeks.
Hey.
Week 15 and 16. That's it.
I got the most total points in the league. I won the division. 2 seed. I got the bye week. I have home field advantage on my side of the bracket again for whatever that's worth. And yeah, I mean, I've won some money so far. Island division.
You made a buy to the money round. Good luck. Championship round. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry.
We'll see. We will see. All right. Speaking of championships, college football playoff rankings released on Tuesday. And again, not much changed. So we're still looking at Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson, and Ohio State 1 through 4, right? And then you have A&M and Florida 5 and 6 again. The main change here is Iowa State jumps into the top 10. They're sitting at number 7, followed by Cincinnati, Georgia, and Miami. And then I just want to make note here, Coastal Carolina, which played a hell of a game against BYU, sitting there at number 13, which is the highest they've been all year. And
well, it's because they were allowed to play a non-conference game against a ranked opponent, which not other teams can't do that. So that's what made the jump, and I appreciate that the committee jumped them that far because of it.
Yeah, they're a good team, and I was hoping that they would.
It was a great game.
Oh, it was a hell of a game coming down to literally the last play of the game. Looked like the Rams-Titans Super Bowl where his name? I think was Derek Mason or Kevin Dyson who gets tackled
reaching for the goal line.
Yeah, it was a hell of a game. I think it was exactly what everybody expected it to be. So I'm glad that both teams agreed to play on such short notice. So I mean, props to BYU for sure. They're done now. I don't think Coastal Carolina doesn't really have a shot to make the playoff, but at least they
can make a New Year's Day 6
for sure. I was hoping So in general, I don't disagree with the rankings. My only problem here is Miami at number 10. One loss Miami, one loss to
always have a
Clemson.
problem with Miami.
It doesn't make sense. Iowa State has 2 losses, and they're sitting at 7. Cincinnati undefeated, sitting at 8. Georgia 2 losses, sitting at 9.
I've told you this before. Miami is not jumping Notre Dame and or Clemson.
I don't want them to jump them. I just think that they should be higher than 10. And I think that's it. I think it's optics. They don't want to have 3.
I personally think Ohio State should not be in the top 4. Hey. I think it's horrendous that they came out today, the Big Ten, and changed their rule. They changed the rule because all they want is to have a Big Ten school in that playoff because all they want is money. You made a rule at the beginning of the season. It was 6 games. Now, because your premier team and you only have one premier team in your league, you go, you know what? We'll let you in the championship with 5 so that you can get into the playoff. Horrendous decision. I hope Ohio State loses in the playoff. Not the Big Ten championship. I hope they lose because it was a horrendous decision by that committee. I'm sorry I'm being mean.
I think Ohio State can handle it. Listen, I agree. I agree that they're just manipulating or changing rules, in air quotes here, just because it's Ohio State. And I think we actually talked about this. It might have been last week or the week before when we were speculating whether or not they would have enough games. And we said, it wouldn't be very un-NCAA-like for them to change the rule for Ohio State. So I agree there. The only thing is it wouldn't even have mattered. So Ohio State, technically, if they played Michigan and they lost, they would still be in the Big Ten championship. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because they would be there anyway. The only argument...
You made a rule.
I agree. The only argument is that you as a school, although this is Michigan's fault, right? But Ohio State did get I don't want to make light of it, right? But the COVID bug, like they had a COVID outbreak in their program too. So you put it on the programs to put in safeguards. So that's the only argument you could make, is that Ohio State could have done a better job of containing whatever COVID issues that they were having. But at the end of the day, I mean, they were going to make it regardless. So
here's the thing. If you as a conference said, if you're playing a team and the team you're playing, which I actually would agree with this rule, the team you're playing cannot play because they had an outbreak, it's a forfeit and it counts as a win for you. Now Ohio State would have 6 wins, but they did not do that as a win. I'm in pharmaceutical compliance. I listen to rules. I do rules all day. I look at policies. I'm not going to change the policy and go, because I want you to not be investigated or you to not get in trouble, I'm going to change the policy. No, that's where I have a problem.
Well, with the NCAA, rules are meant to be broken, and I think
unless an athlete gets paid or gets a contract or signs an autograph
100%.
or does anything like that. So change that policy before you sit there and go, no, Ohio State, we want you in the finals, so we're going to change that policy. So that's where I have an issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the FBS is talking about leaving the NCAA and becoming their own entity, I guess. So I don't know what that would lead to as far as maybe paying athletes and other rules that would essentially be created or disregarded once they separate. But I'd say give us both to Carolina.
I don't think schools should pay athletes. I think athletes should be able to use their name to get money.
That's just like any other social media influencer does.
That's 100%. But a school paying an athlete, that gives the big time schools more assets to get those. But if you're a Coastal Carolina quarterback right now, you can make just as much money as Justin Fields on Instagram and Facebook and signing autographs at a car dealership. You could do all that. So
I agree.
use your name, not get paid by the university. That's the difference.
Yeah. And I would love to see Coastal Carolina, Ohio State. They should give us that game. I think that would be a good test for Coastal Carolina, see if they're the real deal. Now, if they won, I don't think they should jump up into the top 5, but I think it would be the real test for Ohio State. They have like the 70th strength of schedule in the country, which is not their fault. They played the games that are on their schedule, and their division is garbage this year. Their conference is garbage, but if you're the 70th strength of schedule and they use that as one of the metrics to determine where you rank. And you
played 5 games.
Yeah,
and you played 5 games.
Give us one game. Give us one out of conference game where you're actually tested.
Coastal Carolina did it. BYU was willing to do it. So
I'm sure Coastal Carolina would do it again. Why not? All right, enough of the college football for now. I'm sure there'll be some more crazy headlines next week. We'll see what the fallout is, if you want to call it that, from the Ohio State decision. But moving on to the NBA. So it's been a couple weeks, I think, since we touched on the NBA, but some news that we definitely want to touch on. And it's all about the point guards this week. So first and foremost, right, the Westbrook John Wall deal. Interesting. I don't think it does anything really for either team. I think the playoffs and the championship are kind of already decided as far as the two teams that'll be there at the end. But what are your thoughts? Do you think there's any significance to it at all, other than just players swapping teams and maybe some seeding moving around potentially in the East?
Wizards, they win that trade all day long.
100%.
Wall is a great player when he's healthy and when he's motivated. He's not often healthy and motivated at the same time. That's the issue. Maybe he turns it around. Maybe he does. Westbrook's a beast. I mean, not just on the court, but with that fashion game. I mean, he'll give me a run for my money with this sweater and hat. So, Wizards, great trade for them.
Real quick, off topic: Cam Newton or Russell Westbrook? Better wardrobe.
My style, I'll go Westbrook.
I agree.
Cam, I like it, but my style, I'm going Westbrook. I can't pull off a Cam Newton outfit.
No, he can't either, which is the point. But yeah, I agree. I think the Wizards will be a much better team. But again, what's it worth? I mean, I know you have to do the deal because it's there. It's a good deal for your franchise, for your team. But this year, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion, right? It's going to be Nets and Lakers outside of some craziness happening. Maybe the Clippers give the Lakers a run, but the Lakers have great depth this year, probably more depth than last year. And the Nets, I don't know. In the East, there's no way Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and that young core of the Nets are gonna not.
What are they gonna have that young core?
Well, yeah, that's another.
Or are they gonna bring in Harden? Which, no offense, that I personally think hurts. I know it would be a great 3, but it would hurt them because now who has the ball?
Yeah, it's like an all-star
all 3 want the ball.
Yeah, it's ISO all day. I mean, it won't work. It maybe 1 year they'll have, they'll just kind of out superstar every other team for 1 year, but that's not gonna grow old well. That's not gonna age well. So I agree. I don't think that move makes sense in the long run for the Nets because they have such a young core, and
you can't have 3 players that want to score 30 points a game, and that's what that would be.
Yeah, that would be a mess, which might distract people from looking at the Knicks this year and realizing what a mess they are. But hopefully they're playing a little bit better this year. But speaking of the Nets, Kyrie, I can't stand Kyrie. I just can't stand the guy. Between the flat Earth and every other stupid thing that this guy says, It just makes no sense. I like Uncle Drew better. I don't like Kyrie Irving. But he comes out and he says he's not going to talk to the media this year. It's just like, why? Are you that weak? Are you that like sensitive?
No. What it is, everything you just said, plus the comments he made about LeBron, plus all this other stuff. He wants media attention. He wants to be a star. He is a very good player, but he is not a star from his actions on the court. So now he's trying to do, I hate to say it, a Dennis Rodman. And he's going to make this other persona about him and be this contentious person. And if he shows up in a wedding dress on a cover of Sports Illustrated one day, I would not be surprised, because all he wants is attention. He wants to be a star. He can't get it from his game. He should, but he's a complimentary player. Therefore, you will not get it like a Durant or a LeBron or a Giannis. You won't get it from getting 10 assists a game. Not the attention he wants. So he goes about it another way. I don't approve with it, but that's what he does.
Yeah, he's just doing the exact opposite and just making it look like he's anti-media, but yet you're gaining all this media attention by saying that you're anti-media and you're not going to talk to them. But I'd be interested to see how this is going to work out, because it's not going to click right away with Kevin Durant. The Nets, I'm not going to say they're going to struggle in the beginning of the season, but there's going to be games where there looks like there's a disconnect between him and KD potentially. And then who has to do all the talking for that? Kevin Durant's going to have to do all the talking. And he's not the biggest fan of the media. So I just wonder, how old will that get for him? Will he say, listen, dude, you got to start talking to the media, because I can't keep answering for your actions or your question, like whatever questions they have for you, I'm answering them.
What I want is when Kyrie says, no, I want the last shot to Durant, because he said he wanted it from LeBron. So say that to Durant. I want that to happen 3-4 games into the season. Poof, that whole team explodes. Done.
Yeah, and then
add Harden into the mix if that happens.
That's a good point. So then that's when they make that deal for Harden, and they say, you know what, we're not going to get rid of our young core, but we'll send young Kyrie out there. Check out the flat Earth.
Young Kyrie, he's not young anymore, my friend.
He's younger than me.
In NBA years, we're old.
Oh, he's 28. I mean, you're right. I guess he's been in the league for about 7 years now, 8 years. But go check out the flat Earth in Houston, I guess. It's going to be interesting. It's nice to have a powerhouse, even though I'm not a Nets fan, in New York. It'll be interesting to see, how the media reacts. But I'm more interested in how it's going to unfold if there is tension or some issues between those two, because they do not handle the drama very well. So
I'm pissed Toronto picked Tampa over Newark. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that would have been.
I would have had my little claw hat on. Oh no, wait, the claw is Kyrie, so I can't do that.
No.
The little raptor hand.
Yeah, you could be hanging out. You could be hanging out with Drake in Newark.
Yeah. Whew. I know a few bars where me and Drake can hang out at. Come on, let's go.
I'm sure Drake's listening right now. Hey, Drake, check out the bars in Newark with Brian.
Let's go.
He's got an extra hat for you, so you guys can.
I'm getting 2 more in the mail. Different styles.
Wow, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Love it. Last note on the NBA. So I did hear on the radio today. Didn't see it. I heard it on the radio. Some speculation and some GMs or others saying that a Harden for Ben Simmons deal would not be out of the possibilities for Harden, especially because of Daryl Morey's I don't know. Is he now the GM of the 76ers? I don't know exactly what.
Yep.
So then you got him in the 76ers. Obviously has a relationship with James Harden. James Harden wants nothing more than to be out of Houston, unless it's at a strip club,
But he
of course.
wants to be in Atlanta or Las Vegas.
So what would you do if you're the 76ers and you could get, and you knew you can get a deal done? You knew that if you traded Ben Simmons, you could get James Harden straight up. No draft picks, nothing. Now I don't know what details are going to go into it, but I'm saying
straight up. Absolutely. I mean, Joel Embiid has 3 years left with his knees, his back, his ankles. He got 3 years left. Ben Simmons is a project. He's coming along. He's doing well. But if you got 3 years with Embiid and you can get somebody like Harden who could hit a jump shot, Simmons can't, who could pass the ball in a pick and roll, Simmons can do that. He's actually very good at that. But somebody who would draw a double team and not make Embiid be double teamed, I would do that in a heartbeat. And that would be trust the process. If I was the Phillies owners, the 76ers owners. But what scares me is that they have the same owners as the Devils, and the Devils don't make those big picks. They do draft picks. They don't do big trades. So I'm worried if it's the same mindset.
Yeah, 100% pull the trigger if you could. The only problem, obviously, is money. I mean, Ben Simmons is not making James Harden money, nor will I think he really ever will reach that. But I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think Ben Simmons is somewhat overrated just because of the fact that he can't stay healthy, just like Joel Embiid, right? I think you have to take that into consideration when it comes to valuing a player, right? Your availability is probably the most important ability, and James Harden has stayed healthy. I mean, he plays.
I think Simmons is very overrated. I think people look at his potential.
Very overrated, you're saying, huh?
Yes. I think people look at his potential and they'll look at what he can do for a 10-game span, but he won't do it over an 80-game span. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think he's overrated. I don't know if he's very overrated, but I agree. You would definitely pull the trigger on that deal.
So
it's not going to work.
So historically, who shoots better, Ben Simmons or Steve Nash?
Historically?
Well, Steve Nash doesn't play anymore.
I mean, shooting percentage wise?
Yeah.
Like field goal percentage.
Yeah.
Well, Ben Simmons his layup after layup.
I'm saying 15 foot and out.
Oh, Steve Nash.
People talk about Giannis can't be in a playoff or a championship winner because he can't hit a 15-footer. He shoots better than Ben Simmons.
Many people do.
So why are people talking like Ben Simmons is the next great point guard? He's not. He's a very good, efficient player. He's a role player. He is not an all-star.
I guess it's just the way that he attacks the basket. He looks like LeBron when he attacks the basket. Attack.
That makes me sound mean. Me sound mean.
When he drives to the basket. Speaking of young superstars, or at least future potential superstars, move on to college basketball. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see enough this year in college basketball to really determine who is the next young superstar. Because, again, postponement after postponement, cancellation after cancellation. It's across conferences, across the country. It's every day, right? I mean,
they're doing bubbles. They're doing bubbles right now.
They're like mini.
They were.
It's like, yeah, I guess you could call it a bubble. But, I mean, if you're only staying there for 4 or 5 days, a week at most, I mean, what are we really doing? I mean, you're just prolonging the fact that once you travel, it's not going to just stay where you are because you stayed there for 6 days. It's going to come with you if you got it. but I mean, I respect what makes it look like an approach to potentially considering a bubble. Maybe it's kind of just seeing how it works out and how the players respond. But we said last week we think that there'll be madness, just might not be March. I don't know anymore. I really don't know if teams are going to be able to play a decent amount of games to really, truly get an actual fair tournament at the end of the season and say these are your top 24 teams or whatever they are. Have at it.
So I hate Duke, except I'll give love to my boy Jay Will. I played against him in many courts in the central Jersey area. He was younger than me. I beat him once or twice. He was good. He was a good player, but hopefully he's listening. If not, maybe I can get him on the show. He's busy with his ESPN gig, but I'll try. But Coach K made a very great point. And why is this season going on? You're closing down college campuses, but you're making my players travel to college campuses. And there are so many positive tests going on right now. You're shutting down colleges, but my players have to be here. And we said this last week. It's not like football where you got 40, 50 players where if 2 test positive, you can still have a game. You got 12 players, 2 test positive, you're screwed. And he made it very clear that the NCAA is only doing this because their biggest moneymaker is March Madness. And he didn't say it point blank, but he hinted at it. And I agree. And it's not like college football where if you quarantine for 10 days, which I think is the new rule, not 14, you miss 1 game. 10 days in college basketball, you're missing 6 games.
Yeah, I'll get back to the Coach K comment, but I agree. It doesn't, for me, and I'm no one of any power or influence, obviously, but why don't they just, here's an idea, cut it off now. Cut off the season now. Treat it as if it was training camp, if it was your preseason, if it was your scrimmages, whatever you feel like you want to call it, right? Just you got out on the court, you saw what you had because you didn't really have much time in the offseason to determine that, right? And resume after the holidays, let's say middle of January, right? Let the kids go home, see their family for the holidays, come back 2 weeks later, right? Give them time to isolate when they get to where they're going, and then just hold conference bubbles, just like I said last week. Hold the conference bubbles at that point. You could play probably 10 games a team over a 1 month span, 1.5 month span, and then you could have your March Madness
tournaments. Big East tournament used to be a game a day for 10 days. That used to be the old school Big East when I was growing up.
Yeah, and the only difference this year would be obviously fatigue and stamina and those things not being what they are after, playing regularly. But whole point is cut it off now.
But you would be more refreshed because you haven't played a 20-game season.
It could go either way. You definitely would have fresh legs, but you might just be a little rusty. We saw injuries in the beginning of the NFL season. If that was related to not having preseason, I don't know. I guess that's to be determined, or we may never know. But point is, cut it off now. Resume basketball middle of January with your conference, and then you pick your 3 best teams from each conference, and then you have your tournament, and then you could bubble up at that point. These aren't long bubble stints. I mean, the NBA was in a bubble for 4 months. NCAA would be in a bubble for 2 months, 2.5 months tops. It's not crazy. It's not impossible.
But here's the question. You said 3 from your best conferences. I believe there's more than 20 conferences. So that would be bigger than the current NCAA.
Yeah. I don't mean literally, right? I'm just thinking just pick a random number, honestly. So you could say 2, right? You could say your conference winner and the runner up to that conference, and then determine seeding accordingly. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But point is, it doesn't make sense to keep doing this now because you're only making it worse. You're only making your league look worse. And the Coach K comment, all I'm going to say is I just find it funny that he's saying this after Duke is sitting there at 2-2, right? Didn't say this before the season, at least to my knowledge. I didn't hear about it unless the media is not conveying that information to us. They're sitting there at 2-2, and they just lost to Illinois. So it's interesting timing. Interesting timing for Coach K to come out and say...
Coach K did voice concerns about starting the season prior to this happening. He was not as vocal as he was after the loss, but he did say he wants to make sure all the precautions are put in place. So he was cautious. Now he's more vocal about it.
Yeah, I just hope that he's sincere in what he's saying and not just saying it because of the fact they're sitting there at 500, as well as Kentucky losing, Duke losing. It's just odd. It's interesting. But I don't know. I think, to your point, cut it off. Let's evaluate, set something up that makes much more sense. I feel like this wasn't planned very well, but... Again, that's
Are you talking our show or the NCAA season?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Both. I think we might be more well planned than them, honestly. But
oh, wow.
All good. Seton Hall, shout out to Seton Hall, 2 wins. They'll be there at the end.
If there is an end.
This is true. This is absolutely 100% true. Speaking of the end, that's it. That's all I got. You have anything that I missed? Anything you want to add?
No. Hopefully I'll get this wonderful cap company as a sponsor. I won't say their name now, but if I get a lot of comments on it, maybe we can get them as a sponsor.
I thought that was Bruce Arians' company. Didn't you say that?
No.
I thought he had his own company. Okay.
No, it's the Bruce Arians look. It's not Nick Newens. Nick Newens has his own caps.
Oh, man. All right. Well, if you want to see Brian's cap here, please check us out on YouTube, Sports Snobs, and check us out on thescenesnobs.com, Twitter. Maybe you could share a picture, update your Twitter profile picture to you with this hat. Awesome. Bruce Arians by J.C. Penney. All right. That's all we got today. Make sure you tune in for our pick show. I did well last week, so please tune in for the pick show later this week.
Did you do better than me?
I think I did, but that we'll tease them. Well, I'll have to tally up the points.
I know I got a 2-pointer. I got a
2-pointer as well, and I might have gotten another pick. So stay tuned, and you'll find out if Brian's doing a shot in his beautiful Bruce Arians by J.C. Penney hat.
I got a different hat for that day.
See ya.